The left hook, responsible for more unconscious people than a chloroform-soaked handkerchief, more lethal than a James Bond karate chop. And I actually do think that the left hook is the punch that leads to the most knockouts in the boxing ring. And I think that's probably because we throw a lot more lefts than we do rights as an orthodox boxer. And probably because of the lateral impact creating more problems than a straight line impact. Now that's not scientific. I've done no scientific research on that whatsoever. No empirical data, no nothing like that. Just my opinion, and let's face it, the world's full of people at the moment who are giving their opinions as bona fide a fact, so I'm just joining that crowd. But it's definitely a punch that we want to get the most out of. And this video, we're going to look at a really sweet way of throwing that left hook, and we're going to examine 4 ways of increasing the power and impact, and you'll take away the mechanics, how to do it right, the mistakes to avoid, and the 4 ways that you can just give it that little bit more. So keep watching. Before we get going, go download your book, The Beginner Boxer Toolkit, very quickly. There's an email address, email link below, and there'll be a link at the end. How to prepare your mindset, how to set up your own home gym, lay down the ideal training regime, how to build power and speed, how to get the most out of your heavy bag session, how to be brilliant at shadow boxing. As I said, there's a link down below, there will be a link at the end. Let's get going, the left hook. And we're just going to look at one type of left hook, and it's the left hook at mid-range. Let me demonstrate and then we'll work through the mechanics. From the side. Okay, what's going on? Starting with drive off the front foot, hips rotate, and then you've got that chain reaction going up through the body. Arm comes up, lands like that. Now I'm landing it palm in at the moment. We can go palm down as well. The thing about palm down, if you're going to throw these left hooks on the heavy bag, drop the power way low if you're using palm down, unless you can bring it right over and get them knuckles down. Because I always find it, I've never been able to explain this, but landing palm down on the heavy bag can sometimes cause an injury. Landing palm in, less likely. But if it's up against a human head, the jaw, it's fine. If it's on the pads or the focus mitts, again, palm down, you can really load that up and it's fine. I've never been able to work that out, but it's just one of those things. So yeah, I've gone palm in. The problems we get sometimes, we don't drive off the front foot, the hips don't rotate and it becomes an arm shot. I can guarantee you that especially if you're a beginner, it takes time for us to get to a point where you're throwing punches and this isn't happening, okay? The guard's arm isn't dropping, right? And we can master that with straight shots. As soon as we start working the hook, that will happen. That backhand will drop down here. The brain just doesn't tell you to keep it up. So be aware of that one. We want it to be there when we throw it, okay? Now that's just the left hook from that position, bang, okay, there. If you want to see someone who's brilliant at just throwing that shot without doing any of the other stuff to add a bit of power, Roy Jones Jr. He could just be there and he'd just go, and he'd just drive, super fast, land powerful left hooks. So how can we build things up a little bit? First thing, we can do the slip in the left hook. So from there, we slip. So a slip is a push off the back leg, hips rotate, front leg bends, loads the thigh, and then we come back with the hook. So you've got, I'll just show you once from the side. Okay, some people coach that as the left hook. You know, the 2 skills. I actually like to separate them into 2 different skills because, funny enough, they are. But that really allows you to get extra torque in the body, drive off the leg, and you can build the power up a bit with that one. It might look a bit like this. The second way then to add more power to your left hook, same kind of principle, but we are throwing a punch instead. So we're going to use the right cross and the left hook. 1, 2, 1, 2. And from there, big point on this one, especially with beginner boxers, under rotation is a massive problem when throwing the right hand. Sometimes that front leg locks, so that happens, and if that front leg locks, them hips are not going to rotate. Okay, so the front leg has to bend, drive off the back foot, again that chain reaction, and that sets us up perfectly. Torque in the leg, bang. Yeah? 1, 2. 1, 2. And again, the rotation there, drive off that leg and rotation back. So the hips are doing that. Right? If you under rotate the back, and look at the big problem. So I'm gonna, there's my jab. I'm gonna under rotate the backhand. Okay, legs locked, hips aren't going round. Okay, look at the distance that was falling short. Rotate, and you make up that distance. But it's the same concept. You're building up power. That's why, as coaches, generally the first 3 punches, jab, cross, left hook. They're the ones we coach. For that reason. It might look a bit like this. The third way to get additional power in your left hook, we're in the bladed stance there, we're going to square it up. Okay? If you square your stance up, again you can open up the body and you will drive more power in each hand actually. Okay? But look, big important thing, bladed stance has a bias towards mobility. That's the stance you see much more in Olympic style boxing. Okay? And the squared stance sacrifices mobility in favour of power. The squared stance, you want to be closer range, right? But bear in mind, you are at risk of being unbalanced that way. So if I get an opponent who just barges me chest, I'm likely to stumble back. Whereas if I'm in the bladed stance, I'll just absorb that because the back leg is providing that support to the overall forward backwards balance. Okay, so you know, generally speaking, don't go square at long range because you're just sacrificing range and you're sacrificing mobility. But when you're at mid-range and close range, you can really whack those hooks in and that will give you extra power. It could look a bit like this. Okay, so you can see on that little heavy back demonstration, I was throwing 2s and 3s. It's just the way I'm wired, and you know, if you're up and if you've got to the point where you've taken the risk of going in the square stance and you're unloading hooks, you know, don't just throw one. Let them go. You know, open up a bit. And also, good little rule: after you land a hook, do a roll. Okay, make yourself a bit more difficult to hit. Roll off the hooks. Okay. And then number 4, I don't think this is going to surprise you, squared stance with a slip. Right, and I think that's the one that adds the most power. In fact, I did a video in the past where I measured this stuff with a little device and that came out first. That allowed me to generate the most velocity. So from there we go there and then whack across. There, bang. Right, so you're getting the power of the squared stance plus the power of the slip. That is the daddy of all left hooks, that one. that will loosen fillings when that one lands. Okay, and that might look a bit like this. So there you go. Don't, avoid the mistake. Don't be dropping the hand, especially if you're look, if you're squared up and you're close range and your hands are here, you deserve everything you get. All right, you're gonna get whacked out. You deserve it. If you're at close range, get them hands up there. Right. If you're throwing that hand, keep that one up there. Avoid the under rotation. Be conscious of that. Just do some slow stuff like that. Just avoid that under rotation. Okay, look, I hope you've enjoyed that. Drop a like, leave me a comment. Is there anything else that you think can add power to that left hook, apart from sticking a horseshoe in the glove? All right. And don't forget, download your beginner boxer toolkit. Subscribe for more videos. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.